Live. Hello, welcome everyone. So it's the first time I'm doing a live on here, and I'm so excited. I see some people joining in the chat. Hello, good morning. So my name is Jill Kane, and I am joined today by my lovely friend Melissa, and we are going to chat today a little bit about self-trust and just our corporate background and where we are today and what we're doing, and open up for questions too. So welcome everyone. So a little bit about me. I am ex-corporate HR leader, focused more on like the compensation side of things. So anything to do with pay structures, building pay programs, kind of more of a behind the scenes role, if you will, but there's a lot of impact and I don't know, a lot of presence in a way. It's just a really unique kind of place to be. That's what I've done for over 25 years. And now I'm transitioning more to helping women, specifically in midlife, with coaching and helping them kind of go through this similar transition that I've been going through in leaving corporate and starting something on their own and just trying to really explore what's next and be more true and honest with themselves. And Melissa, if you want to introduce yourself, thank you and welcome.
Sure. Thank you, Jill. Hi, I'm Melissa Scalfa, and I also grew up in corporate. I worked for Fortune 50s for 25 years, and I was an HR technology leader, coaching and implementing global programs all over the world. And my journey came to a little bit of an abrupt halt when I myself burnt out, and now I am the founder of Scalfa Performance Life Coaching. And I stuck the life in there specifically because so often as leaders, we attribute performance to work. And hopefully, as we discuss today, we're going to learn that performance is how you lead your life, right? You influence and lead yourself first before you lead anyone else. And that's really what I focus on, is helping leaders in their midlife career to really start to evaluate what's next for them when they're getting that call or when they're feeling stuck or they're hitting a wall, because it's how we show up for ourselves and take care of ourselves, and then that energy transfers and we can change our patterns, and then the world is limitless. So that's really what I focus on.
Yeah, that's so powerful. It's absolutely. And I think we kind of experienced similar things. I know at different points in my career, I've faced burnout as well. And I think sometimes just being in the HR world in particular, you kind of feel like you're the last on the list in some ways, because we take care of all the employees and build programs for that.
Yeah.
And then, we're kind of get what's left over. But,
Yeah.
I think that it's a process of kind of figuring out on your own a little bit, like how to manage that, when you're in it, because there really is no playbook and nobody's there to help you with setting boundaries and being true and honoring your own energy and your capacity versus the demands of what's happening at work. So maybe we can start with that. Just kind of talk a little bit more about like what did the burnout look like for you?
Yeah. It's really interesting. You said something about recognizing and managing your own energy. And for me, I really focus on conscious leadership, and that ties into my core conviction is energy is the most underutilized asset in anything we do. And a lot of people think of energy and they're like, oh, it's a woo concept. It's breath work, it's yoga, it's, physicality, but energy is everything, right? And I used this on a live the other day when I was talking about how contagious it is. Like you walk into a restaurant and I use this example of when there's a couple and they're all lovey-dovey, and if you walk into that restaurant, you kind of you entrain to that energy, right? Or if you walk in somewhere else and there's conflict happening and you get agitated, like that's how contagious energy is. And when you're not conscious of that, it is a very powerful thing. And so for me, conscious leadership is all about leading yourself, being aware of the energy you're in. And so until you learn that concept or really step out and decide, I'm going to be aware and I'm going to be accountable for that, you can just run ragged, right? And you're trying to achieve. Maybe you're an overachiever. Maybe that's where you start to feel good about yourself. Like, if only I get to this point, or if only I get this promotion, or if only I can finish this project. And you start to get in this mode. And so in early career, what happens, right? We're learning, we're achieving, we're crushing it. We're not refilling our tank, right? We're getting the promotion, we're doing whatever we're doing. And so we're pretending we're filling the tank. And then in our 30s, maybe we're starting to master it. We got teams, and you're still on that rat race of just driving, right? And just working. And maybe when you get busier and busier, if you're not conscious of what's filling your cup, you start to forget things, right? You start to leave your vitality behind. You stop working out. Maybe your relationships take a hit. You work later and your kids are going to bed early, right? And so your life starts to take a back seat to your work, which I get it. When you are driven and you are naturally ambitious, it's hard. It's a hard line to draw. And I don't want to ever paint ambition as a 4-letter word, because ambition's beautiful, right? And so what I have learned is, how do we become aware of those patterns that are pseudo filling our cup, and stay ambitious while figuring out what's really in the way of helping me grow, helping me communicate better, helping me reduce decision fatigue, helping me show up as the fabulous leader I once was, or you might appear to be on the outside, and on the inside, like, how do I feel better? And so when you're not thinking about that, that burnout comes fast, right? And if you don't have a language for it, it is sneaky, right? And it starts to show up as self-doubt, over-functioning, right? So you might start to micromanage. You feel like an imposter, even though you've done these amazing things your whole life. You could walk in somewhere and be like, ooh, I don't belong here. And that's energy, right? And so you might be even used to faking it, or mimicking, or relying on old skills that got you there. And then as you're talking to the team, if you feel like you don't belong there, that's what they're feeling, even if your words aren't matching. And so suddenly your influence becomes less, or your impact becomes less. Or have you ever sat in a room and you say all these amazing things because that's the speech you learned, right? But you're feeling so torn up inside that the words didn't even land, and you're like, how did they not hear me? We're all speaking the same language, right? So this snowballs and snowballs, and until you take a step back and go, oh my gosh, what is driving me, and how do I show up happier and more conscious and more aware? It will take you out. And so then that burnout looks like a flat spin for some of us. We might still have the energy to push through. Depends on when it hits. It depends on how intense that self-trust breaks. But when it breaks, I think I became less effective, which broke me more, right? And then you just start to self-sabotage. And
you kind of don't, from what I hear from a lot of people too, and I know I experience, like, you kind of don't know it's burnout, or you don't really understand what that is, and you think it's something to fix, something that you keep trying to put a band-aid on over here and over there, and it just keeps going and going, because like you said, there's an underlying pattern happening. Absolutely. And until we become aware of it, we can't make any changes to that. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like in my background in corporate, like, I'm in total rewards, so there's a lot of incentive plan design, and how do we get people to align the right behaviors to the right outcomes that we want. So there is, like, talk about that and the employee experience, but then I feel like, it's not just what's rewarded monetarily and in the visible stuff that we see, but just in the recognition and just in the positive feedback and the positive, with the way people perceive you when you walk into a room. So we get a lot of those. And I think over time that adds up. And like you were saying, you're performing, but then feeling torn up inside. I feel like it's kind of, as you were saying that, thinking about, like, the difference between relying on that external validation.
Yes.
I felt like I see this a lot too because I work with a lot of job architecture and titles and how people are so like, identify so much with title. I remember like years and years ago, I had to do help with the negotiation of the nurses association. So it was like a union environment. And it was kind of this like we're on one side of the table and the union's on the other side. And we were very much trying to get the best deal possible. And so there was like a kind of new modeling that happened. And so basically, what happened was the levels that they were assigned to in their previous role, like in the new model, they looked a little different, but pay wise, it was a bigger pay increase. It was a bigger, it was an overall benefit and bonus to them, but they did not see it that way because they were so identified with this is the level. No, I'm at this. Like they just so identified with that so much that it felt like a takeaway no matter what was actually happening. So I totally understand how that can happen, especially in these contained environments where you're getting patted on the back and rewarded and given bigger opportunities. So it just continues that pattern of if I do more, I'm getting more, I'm getting more, but it's not really filling you from the inside.
100%.
And I think, for me, like I was more of the, it started out in recruiting HR, but then when I went into comp, like I always wanted to hide. So it was like, I love this being in the background with the spreadsheets and analytical, all that. And it was fine for a while, but then it becomes, oh my God, like I'm at the highest level I can go here.
Yeah.
And no one's seeing me as a people manager because I haven't been given the opportunity because I'm always a team of one or a very small team, or I'm like that tap on the shoulder expert, but I'm the hidden, like behind the scenes person, and I'm not getting the recognition and visibility. So it left me feeling with this, like, kind of the same thing, like this emptiness of like, I'm working so hard, but no one's seeing it. And what can I do about that? So yeah, it's from both sides. I can totally see how this plays out.
Totally. And as you were speaking, I was thinking so many things. I just all want to come out at once, but there's two concepts. One is if you are not aware of what's going on inside, right? If you're still chasing, I'll feel good or I'll be recognized when right? The whole achievement trap. Then your brain starts to ask yourself the wrong questions, right? And if you ask yourself the wrong questions, it's going to find an answer. They're smart. That brain is smart, but it's going to find an answer based on something in the past. It doesn't know the future, right? And it only knows what it knows. And so then you start to do like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And that energy is bad, right? And so if you're hiding behind something because it feels comfortable, like I'm not insinuating you're hiding, but if you see a job out there and you want to get there and you're like, oh, but I can't, or I'm not being given this opportunity. I'm not this or that. You tell yourself these questions like, why isn't anyone seeing me? Why aren't I given the opportunity? But that's the wrong question. What's really happening is what's stopping you from taking that chance, from being uncomfortable. That's kind of where I wanted to go, is getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that is a really hard thing, especially for highly ambitious and highly conscious leaders, is they have a pattern and a way and of progressing in their career, work hard, take on the high risk stuff, but they know that. And what helps them take that next step is the accolades or the promotion or the rewards, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's the scorecard for that is do these behaviors, be charismatic, be a leader that gives hard conversations and good conversations, recognition, whatever the company's attributes are for rewards and compensation. But if you don't feel good inside, you are acting those behaviors, right?
Absolutely.
You don't really know how to embody them if you feel like crap or you're losing yourself inside. And then you get a little bit of the achievement, reward, and recognition hit as as a leader, and then you go, oh, okay, that must be good. I must be acting those right, and you keep going, right? And then something hits where you hit that uncomfortable spot again, and you're like, I want to be uncomfortable, and so you go back to what's comfortable. And so the trick for me, what I have learned is really learning how to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And the other day we talked about it as certainty, right? Learning that it is okay to be uncertain because you start to trust what's inside. That's the journey. That's the journey through burnout, right?
Yeah, that's a good segue too into the self-trust aspect, because I think that
Yeah.
a lot of times, in corporate, we feel like we're in sort of a more secure environment than entrepreneurship, which is just different. It's just there's a learning curve and there's, different challenges that come up. But I think that, for me, self trust, it wasn't really about confidence or, a feeling or an emotion. It's more like the relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And so just maybe we could talk about like ways people can build that self trust, because when you get so reliant on that external system to always be rewarding you and it's not there, like
Yeah.
if you have periods where you lose your job, you're unemployed, and like so we're missing that, and we're not getting that constant feedback that, hey, you're okay and you're still an awesome person without that title, without the role, without it doesn't take anything away from you. And I'm not, here to be like anti-corporate at all, because I think
Of course.
there's positives. Like we learn a lot, we grow a lot, and try to look at it as what you gain, and develop as a person out of it. But it's definitely not the be all end all and final destination, I think, for everybody, because it is, so much reliant on that external system. I think that self trust for me is came down to like taking those smaller and sometimes bigger leaps that, I'm going to follow through on something first. That's kind of how I start out, like something small that I'm going to commit to doing something this week. And I just write it down. It can be something personal. And then the more that you have those little wins, like, oh, I really did that every day this week. I really, focused on drinking my water or got up on time or whatever the thing is, you're
Yeah.
building those like little wins and showing yourself like you can trust yourself. You are that person who you can rely on what's in here, regardless of what's going on outside. And I think that it's not something we're taught, it's something we have to
Yeah.
learn. And, like you, I've started doing a few years ago, started public speaking. I did my first, it was like 2 years ago, big, in-person presentation, and my voice was like choking up and everything, but I got through it and did it.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to do it again. You got to put yourself out there,
Yeah.
and, build up to that, of course. But I think those are the ways, like for me personally, how I've learned to build self-trust, especially after corporate and after kind of figuring out like, who am I now and where am I going?
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's brave, courageous, right? And so a lot of people say, I'm so bad at metaphors, so I'm definitely going to mess this up. Like, what's the difference between fear and excitement, or fear? Yeah, I think it's fear and
Yeah.
excitement, but
Yeah.
it's just a shift in the word you're calling it, right? You can be fearful and self-doubt, and that can hold you back, or you can be aware of it and embrace it, and then it becomes excitement. But it's the same physiology inside.
Where it's like anxiety, right? I think they're all kind of on that
Yeah.
same wavelength. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's going to come out fearful or it's going to come out you're excited. Like you
Right.
still kind of feel the same, but it's how you're thinking about it, I guess.
Because you have faith in yourself. But when you're depleted and that self-trust is low, you don't have faith that the fear is going to translate into excitement, because that energy you bring out of fear and you come out, let's use stage. That's an extreme example when you're feeling no self-trust, but that's going to show, right? I loved what you said. I heard a little thing, and I'm going to call it discipline. A lot of people who are creative feel like discipline is a killer of creativity, but like figuring out when you're burnout and you're cycling out, or you don't trust yourself, and you're I'm gonna use the word stuck, even though it's a super general word, but um, the things I found, the only thing I found that worked for me when I got to that point, because I couldn't use old skills, they weren't working anymore. I couldn't push through because I was depleted and my imposter was bullying the heck out of me. And so I had a coach, and she said, "What's going to make you happy in the moment?" Because literally, this seems so crazy, but I forgot. I didn't know what made me happy because I was so addicted to the achievement hit. And when that was gone, it was like my parents telling me I was pretty and good was gone. And so first, yeah, I had to just get really real with myself and not blame and not ruminate and not, go into like an isolation mode, but really say, what makes me happy at this moment? And if it was sitting on the couch eating ice cream, like allowing myself to feel my own happiness. And I'm not advocating eating your feelings. I was just mine for a minute. But then it was taking that and turning it into discipline for me. And so you pick like three things, and you say, what is my goal to have a better mindset around this? And maybe it's health, maybe it's, more water and more walking, maybe it's I'm going to write, whatever it's going to do to fill your cup. That's your job. You're taking accountability that work is no longer filling my cup. I need to replenish me so that I can learn to trust myself. It's getting to know yourself. And that discipline is a growth mindset. That's all it is. It's saying, I'm going to have the discipline to be a beginner again. I'm going to have the discipline to say, to micromanage my own steps and commitment to myself, to my wellness. Whether it's I'm going to get a big thing of water and I'm going to put rubber bands around it to make sure that I drink 12 of these a day, or I'm going to get my Apple Watch that's going to yell at me when I don't stand up enough, whatever it is. And then you implement that. And then the questions in your mind when you don't want to do it is the discipline of saying, I'm doing it. I'm getting up in the morning. I'm practicing a meditation. I'm going to yoga. I'm drinking water, whatever your things are. But that feeding of your own soul, to your point earlier, and not relying on external reinforcement is the only way to get back in touch with yourself. So first you got to be aware, then you got to be accountable to committing to loving yourself and figuring it out. And it is proven that once you feel like that, your energy is going to shift. You're going to be more conscious about the decisions you make, and you'll be more in flow. When you're in flow and everything goes and you can get things done and you don't rewrite an article. We were just giggling about that, right? How long sometimes it takes us to write an article in Substack, or, and in your mind, you could be like, this is hard. Technology is hard. I can't do whatever. But that's not a commitment to self-love, right? That's a commitment to, once I achieve this, I'll feel good, right? So it's this whole concept of discipline, picking three things, being aware, being accountable for loving yourself and filling your cup so that you can break the pattern, rewire a new pattern, and then take the right steps of where you want to go next. And it will be clearer. Your central nervous system will regulate, right? And your body will tell you once you get back in touch and you give it the authority to listen to it. Does that make sense?
No, I love that. Yeah, totally. And I think I relate so much to that journey too, because like you said, when you were leaving corporate and you have the experience of burnout, you didn't go right to the discipline though. You have to take that time to get to know yourself and give yourself permission, right? To do what you're actually feeling in that moment and what's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
And the more that you did that, it built up that discipline eventually. Because I think if you went straight to burnout to something, setting a goal, and then we don't achieve it, we might set ourselves back a little bit.
Yeah.
But taking that time to process, giving yourself the permission and allowing yourself and not judging yourself during that time period and however long it takes, because we're all individual, right? So I totally respect that journey. I think that also too, for me, the self-trust was the follow through. Like I had so many to-do lists and I would put, I used to put like too many things on it, but was in the pattern of knowing I'm not going to get them all done.
Yeah.
But even though I'm still doing a lot, right? But it's like, I don't want to be in that mindset of it's okay to not, complete something. So it was more of like, what's something small I can commit to, complete, show myself, and prove to myself that, hey, I am a person who completes things and does what I say I'm going to do. And then I can trust myself with the bigger thing and the next bigger and the next bigger and just build upon it. So that's kind of where I got to with the speaking eventually.
Yeah.
I think that is such a powerful journey. I think another thing too, I know you've said this to me before, and we talked about before, is like not having the shoulds, right? Saying I should do this, I should be doing that. Well, I
Yeah.
should be getting off the couch, and so if we can replace the shoulds to like what feels right in the moment, I think that helps us build a self trust too.
I agree. And I love what you just said. And I definitely don't mean jumping to a discipline of a structured, oh, are you still there? Everything just,
Oh yeah,
okay, I can't see, everything just went out for a minute. But I definitely didn't mean to say that discipline means jumping from burnout to a structured recovery plan. But it does take discipline to tell yourself that you are going to take care of yourself. It does take discipline to tell yourself you are going to find what makes you happy in this moment. And if it's sitting there and nurturing yourself for whatever reason, it takes discipline to sit there and not ruminate and have negative self-talk, right? It's that thing of saying, no, I have done hard things. I've ignored myself.
yes.
It's human nature. It's the human experience. And now I'm going to take care of it, right? And whatever little steps that takes to get back in touch, to become conscious about where you are. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because I think we're so used to staying at the same pace we were at, and then if we're not at that pace, that we're judging ourselves.
100%.
So it's super important to allow that. It's such a process too.
Yeah. The shoulds, I love that. I always say that. Stop shooting all over yourself.
I know.
I got it from Tony Robbins, but man, it's powerful.
It is. And I think the more that we learn to trust ourselves and take those smaller steps and stop judging ourselves so harshly and like tell that inner critic to just calm down, right?
That
Um,
is, yes.
but it just, I think more things pour in. Like I totally like love what you were saying about energies, everything, and how we transfer it, how it's contagious. And I think that it's how you show up, with that energy. So for me, like a lot of times too, it's moving my body, getting outside,
Yes.
and then coming back to something like when I feel stuck or when I feel like I'm getting down on myself, or judging myself too harshly, or just in this like negative space. It's the get up, move, change your environment, shake things up, and then come back, and it
Yeah.
makes such a difference.
Change what you're focused on. Because what
Mhm.
you're focused on, you're going to see. I've heard this from so many mentors, like get up, change your physiology, because that just disrupts whatever pattern your brain is like pumping through. Your cortisol's high, your central nervous system is on lockdown. Change that. That's step one. Step two is if you're outside walking and you're still fighting yourself and you're ruminating, that means you're focusing on it, and that's what you're going to keep seeing, right? And so it's like someone said, oh, I decided to buy a Tesla. I just heard this on a podcast this week. I decided to buy a Tesla, and I knew I wanted it like pearly gray. And then all of a sudden, what did he see on the road everywhere was these pearly gray Teslas, but before he didn't even see them because he wasn't thinking about it. So that sounds like a weird extrapolation, but if you're focused on what you're doing wrong, what you should be doing, how bad you messed up, like just getting stuck in that, you are going to focus on that because that's your brain's job, right? To keep you focused. So yeah, I like that you get out. It helps everyone, even if you're not a super outdoorsy person. Changing your body, it's shifting how you move is the best way to interrupt a pattern. And if that's all you can do every morning until you start to feel good, then you're like, look what I just did for 5 days. Every time I felt like I almost swore. Every time I felt like not great about myself, I moved. I mean, that's going to make you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many, ways that we learn to do that too. And just being involved in a lot of the programs I'm in and the people, a lot of virtually, but still like putting yourself in those rooms and you seeing people living in a different lifestyle, living a different way, achieving their goals versus like maybe at home, I, see the opposite. And so you are like intentionally putting yourself in places where you're getting a different perspective. And I think that can help shake it up as well.
I like that. You let go of the black and white thinking.
Yes.
And you let go of the need to control, feeling secure and safe. And you maybe redefine what secure and safe means, right? It's interesting. It's a journey. But so how do you help your clients do this?
So I think it's a lot to do with the journey of kind of what happens after corporate and the mindset of letting go. So I really like to, work with people, kind of break that down and get back to themselves, really kind of figure out what they want, truly. I think a lot of times too, like, and I certainly went through this myself, like you don't really recognize when you look back at your career, especially if you've been in your career 10, 20, 30 years and go, oh, I've been through lots of different industries, different experiences, mergers and acquisitions, and like this kind of team and these kind of personalities, this kind of pressure, and like all the different things that we've done. And it's not lost. If you lose your job and it feel disrupted, it can kind of feel like the floor fell out from under you for a bit, but you're still carrying all of that expertise. And I think to me, like there's a lot of potential in the fractional world and in exploring, different opportunities. I strongly, I have two kids, so my kids are 15 and almost 13, and I'm constantly thinking about like their future, what I want for them, and not to turn it all into that, but it's this like, how can we really, I know nothing is totally secure, but the old patterns that kind of we grew up with of get a job, get good grades, get a job, get into college, and get that one job, and that one job is everything and will take care of you. That just is not, it's gone, doesn't exist. And so like, how can we, and I think about this for my kids, but for myself too, like prepare ourselves and create multiple different opportunities so that we don't ever have to feel like we're, at a loss. I see a lot of really concerning posts on LinkedIn and just the state of where we are today. I really feel like this is a major shift happening just overall. And yeah, I am really like looking to help my clients with planning that next step, especially I think in midlife, we go through that process of kind of questioning a lot of things about who we are. And, if I'm not who I was in the past, who am I now?
Yeah.
So I love kind of working through that journey. And that's kind of what I'm focused on now. Also still working on the fractional HR side of things for small startups.
I love that because it gives you like, you're really good at that because you've done it. And so it gives you some easy wins, if you will, while you explore, this new coaching world. It's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. How about you?
I work with, I would say Gen X. I know not a lot of people know what that is, so I'm trying to turn it into age range, but I never want to limit the age. So I would just say leaders who are at this point in their life where they know there's more. They know they're meant for more, they're made for more, they want more meaning and more impact. And whether they're feeling the burnout, whether they know they've approached it or they're swirling in it or they're just coming out of it, but they are done tolerating it. And so I work with them to really help identifying what is interfering with their ability to lead, communicate, trust their own decision-making authority, find their voice again, and really get back into their lives, not just work, right? And so when we find those patterns, then we break them down, we rewire them, and then we practice them, right? And so I feel like every human, when you are in your right energy level, when you are aligned and taking care of yourself, your impact is infinite, right? And so when someone has that inner belief, I help them reconnect to it. So
Wow,
it's awesome.
that's awesome work. Yes, because you've definitely been through it and just know, all sides of that.
Right. I don't always know their answers, but just helping them see maybe what they can't see, the forest through the trees, that helps. Just imagine how great when we were in those modes, if someone, instead of saying, here's the 5 capabilities and skills we need you to do to be a good leader to get this promotion. Imagine if someone just gave us the space to listen and help us identify what we already know and put it together. Because that's the way you learn, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I feel like in corporate, I would lead myself to water and then someone would push me in the river, and I'm like, I'm drinking from this swimming position. So it's just so great to have that space. I have coaches who help me through that. And it's so great to have that space where it's confidential, it's judge free, right? And you lay it out and you celebrate what you're great at. You learn. The most important thing in the world is to give yourself grace, because you are kick-ass and you are also a human, which sometimes I hate being, right? You want to be perfect and you don't want to deal with the human experience, but you are human. And once you recognize that you're not alone, you might be feeling something differently than other people, but the experience is the human experience, right? And we know a way out. So I'm not out of this experience, a way out of the pain and the suffering or the confusion. So, no way out.
Yeah. No, I love that. It's like more of a holistic approach because, like you said, in a lot of corporate environments, you get the leadership training or like it's only kind of one aspect or looking at your life at work and what you are at work, but not what do you actually, what's actually blocking you, what is inside that is getting in the way of you fully accessing and being true to yourself and being in that energy. I think that's really powerful work. So that's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. This was a lot of fun, Jill. And you did
Yeah,
it first time.
Thank you for being my first guest too. Thank you so much.
Always.
I hope we do many more of these. And thank you for everybody who is watching or watches the replay. And we will see you guys next time. Be sure you follow Melissa too.
We're on Substack. Have a great day.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.